This right here is a GTX 970 made by MSI, and this is Custom PC's review. I'd like to start off this review by saying that this is probably one of the sexiest cards I've ever seen. The black and red really goes well, and although they could have probably stuck a nice backplate on there just like the GTX 970 Strix, I think MSI have done really well with this card. It seems to be quite a bit wider, you can see there with the heat pipes kicking out a lot, but I would say that's not such a big deal because these heat pipes do deliver a lot, as I will explain later on in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and explain about the cooler first of all. MSI has used the same kind of technology as the GTX Strix, meaning that in games such as Dota 2 or League of Legends, such like that, these two fans will completely turn off. These are user-defined settings, so you can have it. I think out of the box it goes to 60 degrees Celsius before both fans start turning on. You can have one fan turn on or the other, whatever you want. But sorry, that's my computer being hot. Yeah, so you can define when they turn on, and that one will be defined in MSI Afterburner, which comes on the drivers. Also, I think the box also needs its own shout out. It is very nice, just saying. So yeah, the heat pipes make direct contact with the CPU core, meaning it's better cooling. And this card, I've been playing it on Far Cry 4 for about 2 hours. It never drops on ultra settings, everything all maxed out. It never dropped below. This is overclocked at 1354 megahertz core. Yeah, you know what I mean, overclocked. And it never dropped below 120 frames per second, and never went above 70 degrees C. And the fans, I believe, never went above 50%. So that is just staggering, really, for Far Cry 4. Okay, let's get into the card itself. I'm going to really compare this to the GTX 970, as it is its older brother, not the GTX 6960, which came out I think 2 days ago or something like that. So the 970 has 2048 CUDA cores, whilst this only has 1664 CUDA cores. So obviously they had to cut back somewhere with their flagship GTX 980. Sorry. The base clock on the GTX 980 is 1126 megahertz, whilst on this it is 1050. The boost clock on the GTX 970 is 1216 megahertz, whilst the 970 being 1178. That really is the only two things that are different. The memory on both cards are 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, both 256 bits. Memory speed 7 gigabytes per second. That is, all the rest is really the same. Yeah, on this version of the MSI GTX 970, you can see there it has one 8-pin connector and one 6-pin connector. However, on the GTX 970 Strix, it is just one 8-pin connector. I believe just idle, this card was pulling out 25 to 30 watts, and it only went to about 60 watts when I was playing Far Cry 4. So really, for a top of the range card, Nvidia have done really well cutting back their wattage and wattage usage, really. As for the I/O, it has one DVI and one DVI-D. It has one HDMI 2.0 port and one display port. So that, I believe, well, yeah, you can use all four at 4K. I wouldn't be expecting, you can run Far Cry 4 4K across all four monitors, that would just absolutely murder the card. I got this card for £300, so it's around $450, something like that. I'm not really good with money. So for what it can do, it really, really is great for the money. I'm going to get into testing the card and benchmarks in a second. Let's go through some more features of the card. So it has a memory compression, 3rd generation Delta color compression. So meaning that the colors, it looks nicer basically. I was playing Euro Truck Simulator 2, and before, when I had my GT640, exactly GT640, big upgrade to the GTX 970. I wasn't even on ultra settings, and it was just terrible. Like, I couldn't even read the number plate that was in front of me by like 2 meters. Now the color is just insane, really. And even just looking at my background wallpaper, the color on it is just changed dramatically. Like, I can see everything very well. Another thing, they have dynamic super resolution, meaning that the graphics card will run it at 4K, so Far Cry 4 4K, but it will decompress it into your monitor, so it comes out at 1080p, but it will look outstandingly better. It won't be 4K, obviously, because you don't have a 4K monitor, but it will look so much better than 1080p. Another thing of this card is they have FAA rather than SAA, so that basically boosts all games and everything like that by around 30%, they say. So that is a lot better. Okay, so now on to some benchmarks for this. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I was averaging around 33 with this card. That was on all these were on ultra settings at 1600, I believe, resolution. All of these, as I said, are maximum settings. Thief, I got 42 on this card, so that's pretty awesome. Battlefield 4, I was getting up into the 50s region. By the way, this is not overclocked, this is just stock, no overclock. Grid Autosport, I was getting 65 with this card, really amazing. Call of Duty Ghosts, I was getting up to 50, kind of the same as Battlefield, but a little bit worse. A little bit better, sorry. On Far Cry 3, I was getting 42, I believe. But yeah, really an amazing card. Of course, not as good as the GTX 980. However, it's £100, £200 cheaper, and I would say it's worth all the money. Definitely, I would go for this over 2960s and SLI. And you know, if this is not good enough for you, you know, you can put it in SLI. So yeah, but who would want to do that? Because this is a brilliant card, and definitely a step up from a GT640. By the way, all those tests were run on my test bench, which has a AMD FX 8350 on an ASRock 990 FX Extreme 3 motherboard using 8GB of RAM, run at 1800 mHz. Yeah, it's a brilliant card, and I would definitely recommend it. That about does it for this review of the GTX 970 by MSI. I would appreciate any feedback. As I said, this is kind of my first review, so if I'm looking around, I apologise. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.